how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel, and welcome back to Park Reanima here in Prehistoric Kingdom. I know I've been doing a lot of Prehistoric Kingdom lately and not an awful lot of anything else, but I love the game. It's so fun right now. I'm having a great time with it, so I thought I'll just keep making videos for this, and of course we're not going to give up on any of our current series going forward. It's just that I'm spending a bit more time here. And with Jurassic World, I think because your Dominion's coming out so soon, I think the videos will slow down so that we give ourselves space for when Dominion does release and we eventually inevitably get a DLC, which is going to be huge, I imagine, so leaving some space for that. But of course, here we are in Prehistoric Kingdom. Fantastic. I just said fantastic without any context, but that's how I feel about the game right now. I'm just really enjoying it. It's really a lot of fun. This habitat today is going to be a big aviary style habitat featuring 2 species, or technically 3 species actually. We're going to have 2 different species of Psittacosaurus and 1 species of Archaeopteryx. No, sorry, not Archaeopteryx, Microraptor. They didn't live necessarily in the same time period or area, but they are both Asian dinosaurs. Archaeopteryx, of course, used to be considered the missing link between dinosaurs and birds. Now it's a bit more, of course, missing links aren't really a thing, so to speak. Animals evolve very gradually with many species that are transitional between different traits. So, for example, with birds, there are going to be loads and loads of feathered dinosaurs that slowly have more and more traits that make them bird-like, until the point where suddenly it's just full-on bird. But really, that whole kind of what makes a bird and what makes a dinosaur thing is all kind of fuzzy. They're all dinosaurs, and they all kind of blend into each other as time goes on. Or I shouldn't say blend into each other, but you know, of course, the non-avian dinosaurs and the avian dinosaurs are separate, but the avian dinosaurs and their precursors are, again, it's a very gradual transition. If that made any sense at all. I know I must have sounded really, like, wishy-washy a little bit. But anyways, I wanted to make the aviary a walkthrough one, so here I'm creating a little bit of a boardwalk kind of situation. I wanted it to be quite a narrow one, and I love the control that Prehistoric Kingdom gives you with all these things, and guests still walk over them. In fact, in the cinematic you will see guests using them quite well. Kind of. They don't necessarily register the correct areas as walkable. Sometimes you'll see them just kind of walk on the railings, for example, and you might see that in cinematic, which is okay. The thing is, with this kind of like the way they're doing this in the game, with the guests able to walk on like any traversable surface, it can be really good for creating custom bridges and stuff, but I'm worried about how it'll function in really big zoos with a lot of complex like bridges and stuff like that. So I'm kind of on the fence about that mechanic as a whole. So far, I haven't had too many issues with it, but again, once the zoo gets big, once we have so many like different walkable areas and stuff like that, I'm a bit more nervous as to how the game will handle all these guests kind of calculating their traversable areas and stuff. So we'll see how that goes, and I'm sure it'll be alright, but we'll of course have to see how the game itself develops and progresses with that specific mechanic in mind. Here I built the initial segment of that boardwalk kind of situation, and then just extended it out. Wanted to keep it quite angular. I've seen a few aviaries before where they had these kind of boardwalks which were quite angular, and it made sense and it looks kind of interesting as well. It's not super long, it's relatively short actually. And then towards the end we add an extended bit which has like a slightly larger area to just kind of stand there and look at the animals. But yeah, let's talk a bit about the animals today. Of course, like I mentioned, we have Microraptor. I don't know why I started talking about Archaeopteryx for a while, but Microraptor is the one we actually have in today's habitat. Microraptor is the classic 4-winged dinosaur is what people used to call it all the time. It did in fact have 4 wings, 2 on its legs and 2 on its arms. And they would have kind of splayed outwards a little bit. The leg ones not so much, but the arms definitely, their wings would have splayed outwards, their legs would have kind of gone straight backwards, and they would have glided from tree to tree. I'm not sure what this stance is on whether or not they could do powered flight. I'm going to Google that actually, because I can. So Microraptor, yeah, they found loads of really good fossils from China. A lot of these kind of smaller feathered dinosaurs, they're really fantastic fossils that come out of China because they're all preserved in volcanic ash, which really, I don't know, just puts it in a very well preserved kind of position, and you really see the feather detail to the point where some of the animals that I've found here, people have even been able to find fossilized melanosomes and stuff to determine their color, which is really, really cool. Microraptor, yes, it does seem they were potentially capable of powered flight. A lot of new studies say that. Really interesting. In fact, I think if you watched the Planet Dinosaur documentary from 2013, they featured a lot of animals from this environment where Microraptor was present, and there was Psittacosaurus, maybe? I cannot fully remember. But yeah, they showed that they were also capable of powered flight and stuff like that. So definitely a really interesting area of the world, and just very interesting point in time for animals like this. You had really, really cool stuff going on. On screen here, I'm just putting in a ramp and stairs. But yeah, moving on to I don't know why I keep hopping in between the video and talking about the animals, but next we of course have the Psittacosaurus, which you'll see on screen. We have 3 species in the game. I believe we have Psittacosaurus sibericus, mongoliensis, and just species, which is just the indeterminate one. Sibericus, the one we're not including, we're including the other 2 because they look very cool. And I like including 2 different species. We do see sometimes in aviaries different birds of like very similar species that look quite similar but are slightly different. So I thought I would do that. Like sometimes you see like 2 different types of heron or egret or something in the aviary, so thought that would work out. Also love them. Psittacosaurus, of course, basal ceratopsid or ceratopsian. So things like Triceratops and stuff like that. This is kind of a really basal group, and they're some of the most well-preserved dinosaurs we've ever found, like ever in the world. They're just really, really incredibly well-preserved, up to the point where we can almost reconstruct them like perfectly accurate to life. Of course, we can't say fully perfectly, but really, really close, which is more than we can say for a lot of species, unfortunately. I'm looking at you Megaraptors. Megaraptors have barely any fossil material to work with, which is almost a classic Megaraptor problem. That's completely off topic, but yeah. The Psittacosaurus, we have in here 2 species. The Mongoliensis one, I think, is not my least favorite, my second. And then I cannot remember actually, maybe species, that's my most favorite. I can't remember, but they all look really cool anyways. Sibericus is the one we're not including, and that one looks kind of like intimidating. They've got much bigger, spikier heads, I think. But yeah, here I'm just lining out the edges of the habitat with the fences, and then because the habitat does drop in a little bit, I'm putting in a bit of a barrier here. I'm going to put in some plants and stuff like that. Just resizing it a little bit to make it work. But yeah, I've been really, really enjoying this game recently. It's been so fun. It's nice to be able to play a sandbox game that's kind of new to me to an extent. Like, of course, I've known about Prehistoric Kingdom and stuff for ages, but I didn't play an awful lot of it in the alpha, and I haven't really played an awful lot of it beforehand either. Like, I remember playing the demo back in the day, but I'm not as used to the mechanics and the style of building here as I am with all the other games like Jurassic World Evolution and Planet Zoo. So it feels quite new and fresh to me, which I quite like. And there's something about the style of the game that really, just sits really well with me in my head. It's so fun to build in the style. It never feels tedious or anything like that. I'm not saying that's the case with other games by any means. I still really enjoy building in Planet Zoo and Jurassic World. It's just different, and I really am enjoying it at the moment. It's just quite fun. But yeah, here just some foliage along the edges to garden, kind of do some gardening essentially. Some weeds, and then I realized the weeds were kind of a weird idea because the guests couldn't see in there. Eventually I just remove a few, but then later once we put in the mesh for the big aviary dome on top, it'll look a little bit better than, because it's kind of it makes it look more foresty on the inside. I think it ends up looking really, really cool. Some water in there as usual. It ends up looking like a bit of a forest glade kind of thing with a little creek running through it, which I'm quite happy with how that looks. Here we're putting in the Microraptor habitats, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out how to get rid of the cage around the outside. So it's right there at the bottom. We're all looking at it in the styling toolbox, but I just, you can see me clicking on it and trying to figure it out. Couldn't find out how. So I put in a few here. I think I put in 4 in the end. and each of them will remove the cage so it looks like it's part of the wider habitat, and it'll put it, I populate them with Microraptors, ends up looking really good. I think currently there's a glitch where, if I'm not mistaken, when you load back into the game, all of your animals in the aviaries will have disappeared. So I'm going to have to double check when I do load back into the game if we do a live play this session. I'm not sure we will, just because this video is already kind of long, so we might just do a live play on the next episode and look in this habitat as well. Just a bit short on time this week, unfortunately. But yeah, this week is a big week, guys. Friday, I'm going to the Prehistoric Planet premiere. I cannot tell you how excited I am. I might even vlog the experience. I never vlogged before, but I might do that. That might be... Oh my god, I cannot wait. I cannot tell you how excited I am for Prehistoric Planet. The reviews have started coming in from the US and stuff. People are saying amazing things about it, both dinosaur and non-dinosaur people, so I cannot, tell you how excited I am for it. For those of you who want to watch it from home, it releases on the 23rd of May on Apple TV+. You don't have to buy a whole month of it or anything. You can get a free trial, lasts 7 days, and you can watch the documentary. I believe the documentary will release once every night for 5 nights, so 1 episode per night for the 5 nights, and that should be plenty of time for you to get to watch all of it without having to pay for a membership. Oh wait, there we go. That's our Psittacosaurus. But I am so excited. I genuinely cannot express in words how much this means to me as a fan of dinosaurs, as someone who grew up with Walking with Dinosaurs, to see finally a spiritual successor that people all across paleo media are saying is incredible. So yeah. Apparently Nigel Marvin might be in one of the premieres. I hope he's at mine. I don't think he'll be at mine, the one I'm going to in London, but can you imagine? Oh my god. I wouldn't even know what to say if I met some of these people. I'd just be like, hi, I am a big fan, I guess. This is so weird because I feel like I'm going to act like how people act when they see a musician you like or something. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd probably act the same way if I saw a musician I liked, but these people are they made my childhood, that sort of thing, and it's pretty incredible. But yeah, that's enough of me gushing for now. We'll get back into that eventually, I'm sure, but here I am building the aviary frame, just using these simple black metal bars and kind of measuring it out roughly, and then just working on the frame itself. Of course, we can adjust this later to fit the habitat better, but I think it's a good way to do aviary frames, to build them away from the habitat, bring them back, and then line things up a little bit better. But yeah, relatively simple. This mesh stuff is so good. I love how well it works with the scaling tool, where it scales dynamically and not just directly, so we end up not having anything that's too compressed or anything like that. It just ends up looking pretty good. That's just the wood backing for this. We end up doing some mesh on the side as well, but first we got to duplicate this across. It ends up being a little bit small, but I end up changing the size of the habitat a little bit as well to fit it. And I think it ends up looking really nice. Nothing too fancy at all for the aviary. It's very much just a slightly angled box. So nothing too fancy at all, but I think it looks really good. And it's pretty straightforward technique. So I'm going to recommend, if you want to try building one of these for yourself, definitely that technique works really well. Just using the frame, building it outside. Keeping the relatively simple shapes, I think. They still look good, but, they are really effective in showing off, they still provide enough interest, I think. But yeah, that is, we're coming very close to the end of the time-lapse. I think we're not going to do a live play session for this episode. We'll do it for the next one. Not sure when this episode is going to go out. I think Tuesday, hopefully. Going to try and get a Jurassic World video out soon as well. I have recorded some stuff, I just need to record the voiceover. And then Planet Zoo, I'm again a little bit stuck with Planet Zoo. I'm in a little bit of a funk. I kind of want to redo that whole wetland section I did in one of my previous videos. Just not super happy with the vibe I'm going for at the moment, so might just you know, and I bet, you know, if you go back to the video, it'll say like, oh, I was really happy with my work. But I mean, that always only lasts for a little bit, and then I'm like, maybe I should change it, you know. And if any of you do anything like creative, I'm sure you know, like if you've ever, you know, drawn or written a book or written a story, or, you know, literally anything creative, people will know like exactly like that feeling where you've done something and you're really proud of it, and then later you look at it and you're like, I should do that better. It's just like, I think it's just a very common thing that people have. But yeah, no, I'll see how it goes. So we'll see how that all plays out. Here we're kind of creating what would be an airlock system, but guess I don't think they can pass through like solid objects here. Not the way they do in Planet Zoo, so I couldn't create like a proper airlock system, but I created like a pseudo one. It's just a big gap really. And hopefully the dinosaurs don't escape through it, but yeah, it ends up working out pretty well. But yeah, that is it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you didn't mind me gushing about Prehistoric Kingdom, Prehistoric Planet too much. Yeah, I will be back soon, hopefully, with more episodes. Do let me know what you thought of today's episode in the comments down below. Let me know how you've been enjoying Prehistoric Kingdom, if you've been playing it, or how you've been enjoying the video so far, if you've been watching these. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely week. Thanks as always for the support. And with that all being said, I will see you all in the next video.